Hey, you guys, it looks like we are live. We made it to yet another Wednesday. So glad to see you guys. So let's see, we have Patty. So glad you're here, Patty. And Joe, good to see you. John, thank you so much for coming here and hanging out. Part one is always exciting, it's like, we use the white mixture and then we get to pull out the Vega. So it's like, definitely has a different feel. We do a lot of cutting, a lot of footballs, stuff like that, which is really a lot of fun. So we're gonna have a good time, and we're just gonna go over this. I have my water right here, and I hope you guys have something good to drink. And so very interesting times, United States. We have a new president as of today. That's really wild. And besides that, good news, in a few days, the airbrush parts will be here. And so I'll be shipping out those custom airbrushes that you guys purchased. And so that's exciting. So I'm glad to get them out to you. So I'm very happy about that. All right, so let's go ahead and change our camera. So as you can see, this is the new painting we're doing of a young Irish woman, and just a change of pace. I think John said yesterday in my class, he was like, it's always exciting to see what am I going to do, what's the next live stream portrait. So that was a lot of fun, the anticipation, because I told him yesterday, I don't know myself, so it was. I don't see anyone chatting, so you guys, I'm gonna hit test right here. Let's see. So it looks like it's working on my end. You guys just might be quiet today, but quiet is good, that's for sure. Stephen Leahy, how you doing? Good to see you. How are you, sir? So glad you made it. And Patrick, good to see you. And so we got a nice, healthy group here so far. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to start doing some cutting, because as you can see right here, let me make her big here, we have this blast of light here, right? A beautiful blast of light. And it's a lot lighter than the paper. So if it's a lot lighter than the paper, we can't just say we're going to leave it light and darken up everything. No, we have to establish that light in the beginning. Bring that three-dimensional right away. Hey, Chris Garcia, Rick, how's it going? Good to see you guys. So that's what we have to do. Now, when we come into white, we definitely don't want to go in there. We don't want to go in there and, get overspray, stuff like that. So we're going to have to basically crop out her head and just a little sliver of her neck there. And that would be perfect. So, all right, let's take this young lady aside here. I have several of these printouts, and I'm going to use them as my mask. All right, so we'll put this over here. I have 5 of them, because you never know when you're going to be needing them. You know what I mean? So that's important. So what I have to do is get rid of these are my scrap papers, and I'll be using them later. So as you can see, here is my angle. Let me see if I can get a better angle for you guys and girls. There we go. And we're just going to lighten this up for you guys. 1, 2, 3. Lower that contrast. There we go. So we have a pretty good angle right now. So I'm going to take out my razor blade. Remember what I was going to do is we want to cut out the face, right? That's what's really important, to cut out the face. Willie, how's it going? Good to see ya. So that's what we're going to do. So when you are cutting out the face or something like that, you don't want to get too hard edged, right? You just want to get the area. It's not so important to have it perfect here, and we're going to actually keep this soft edged, but we have to come in with the white and establish that, and we don't want to contaminate the background, which as you can see is pretty dark, right? And I'm just going to go right around there. I'm not going to worry about individual hairs right now. Too soon. And I just want you to concentrate on this. And turn the whole thing around. That's an easy thing to do. Just turn the whole thing. Just like digital art. And one thing that I heard a while ago is to look a little bit before the blade, and then the blade and your hand and your mind sort of connect it. And so now we got to see where we're going, so we're going to turn it around. And, you know, 1 second rule is always in effect, guys. Always, always, always in effect. And so you see we have a little bit of white here, but we're just gonna worry about the large shapes right now. That's all we're gonna do. And then we started the hair over here. Hey, Alaska Outdoors, how are you? So you're in Drew's class. That must have been amazing. Congratulations. I want to make sure that I'm getting, is this the shadow that I'm doing? So I'll just pull this over here and just pull this out right over here. Okay, I think this will be fine. Let's see. So now remember, when it doesn't pull, don't yank it. Just find where it's not cut all the way and cut it. And remember, when we go with white, it's actually going to be very transparent. Think of this as a transparent white, okay? Not as an opaque white. If you went opaque, it would not serve your purpose, and you would have a hard time. So right now I'm just seeing where perhaps it's not cut all the way and it's still stuck. Okay, there we go. All right, so this is basically what we're going to use to go ahead and spray in the white, okay? And there's a little slit here, and I'll get to that later. That's no big deal. So let's move this aside. I save every cutout, which is very important. Make sure you save every little cutout. So now what we got to do, or we want to do, are the footballs, and you guys know what that is. And these are holes that are going to be pretty close to the edge because we want to use these to keep from any kind of crawling of the paint underneath. So that's what we're worried about. Steve asked I'm going to have a cheers tonight. Oh, not tonight, my friend. Perhaps next week. We're going to have, hopefully, Mr. Kent Lind. I have to talk to him and ask him if he's available. That would be cool if we can get him here for an interview. Hey, what's up there, Roy? Good to see ya. And we're just gonna cut this. So one of the things that I'm working on right now is I'm doing a painting. And I'm actually, I don't know if you've ever done this before, but do 2 versions of the painting at once. Now, why would I do it double, right? What's my thinking of doing 2 versions at one time? Well, the thing is I could basically experiment on one, and if it doesn't work out, I could learn from the first one and go ahead and work on the second version with the new insight that, hey, that didn't work, and do that. Or if I do something really cool on the first one, go ahead and do it on the second one as well. So pretty neat. And see, we're almost done with the footballs. It goes really fast. Hey, Colette, how are you? Good to see ya. So glad you made it. And as you can see, almost done. That went pretty quick, but now we have to put the tape. You know, different techniques as you do them, you get really fast and proficient at them, which is really cool. But I like to be neat, so I'm going to take this over here, and I'm going to clean up after myself, which is always good. Always good to keep a clean studio. It's not always easy, that's for sure. Okay, so one of the things is I don't have that fancy tape that FPS or something like that that Brad has. And hey, Wendy, how you doing? And also, not only Brad, but Mr. Steve uses it too. So what I'm going to do is before I apply it, you see, I'm just going to get rid of some of the glue, just as so. And this way, some of the excess glue is going to be on my table. So that's good. And not on my artwork. Good to see you, Wendy. So glad you made it. How you feeling? Now this technique is really cool because it doesn't leave any kind of residual, you know, like sometimes I remember when I used magnets and I would actually have some ink left on them and it would actually put them on, deposit that onto the surface of my painting, and I didn't like that too much. I think the magnets are great. It's just you know, I kind of like this method as long as the tape doesn't pull the paper. So that's what I always worry about. Tone, good to see you. How are you? FBS, that is it. Yes, that fancy stuff that you guys have, that newfangled City Slicker stuff that you guys use. I'm using the, this is from, it's a French place, El Dollar Store, Le Dollar Store. El Dollar Store is the Spanish version of it. Just like that. Doing good, Tone. Doing okay. So glad you're doing well, sir. There he is. What's going on, Brad? Good to see you. So let's hear it for part one. Part one is always exciting. You never know what's going to happen. Let's see. Bam! All right. Not bad, not bad, not bad. Okay. So, we're going to put this young lady over here, right? Okay. All right. Let's make me smaller, you know, and the painting bigger. There we go. Let's get me a little bit out of the way there, right? I think that's always, me out of the way is always the best, you know? And let's get down to business here. All right, so now we have this. Oh, look at that little straggler here. Let's get rid of that. Brad likes part one. That's cool. Now, this is always fun. Dun, dun, dun. Let's see. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it has to be close. No, it doesn't have to be perfect. We can live with not perfect. Done is better than perfect. I like that phrase. Done is better than perfect. I think that's a good phrase. I don't have to worry too much about the edges because what's really cool in this painting is that the white doesn't go to the edges, right? So that's not bad. If you guys are going to use in the future, if you guys are actually going to go ahead and use, now I'm going to cut this very lightly. I don't want this here. I'm going to try and cut it without cutting the paper underneath. You can do this, Tim. All right. Not as good as Mr. Leahy with the razor blade, but I'm trying. That's all I can do. Okay, so now that we did this, you all who've been with me forever know that the next step, of course, is the what? Let me hear. What's the next step? Okay, whoever knows gets a gold star. Let's see. Okay, I think this is good enough. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to press on the empty holes. When you're doing these, make sure that you cover these holes totally. If you haven't, it will be an utter disaster, right? Yes, Roy, color mixture. Exactamundo, as the Fonz would say. All right, here's our white mixture, and we'll shake that up. And so so this is already preloaded for me working today. So that's the light mixture I have. So of course I'm taking my second favorite airbrush, which is the Vega 1000. And so I have two hoses. One hose doesn't have a MAC valve attached, and another one does. The one that doesn't have a MAC valve attached, I use that for my Extreme Patriot Arrow because I already have a MAC valve on there. So the Vega doesn't have a MAC valve, so I use this one with the MAC valve. But you know what would be good? If I actually had a quick connect on it, because That doesn't work, guys. Look, it doesn't work. Okay, let's go ahead and fix that. That's like that. Okay, we can take our tape. We don't need it right now. We'll put that aside. And now what we can do is, actually, whenever I have the white mixture and I'm taking stuff out, I always take my artwork and put it aside because I'm paranoid. And they say you're paranoid until you're right. And I destroyed a couple of paintings, so maybe paranoid, but a couple of times I wasn't. Alright, so we'll put this here, put that away, and then we can bring out our painting, and let's adjust this. Okay, so when we're doing this, when you're doing the white, one of the things you really have to worry about is that it doesn't show up right away. Because what you're doing is you're wetting the paper first. And when, of course, you wet the paper, it's going to darken it. But when it dries, the white shows up. So you can see how that could be something that, you know, you might put too much white if you feel like nothing's happening. So you want to make sure that, let me put this away. You want to make sure that you're not putting too much white. So you give it like a second to actually catch up. So, and first I'm just going to test my spray. And you see I have a low air pressure. I choked down that MAC valve. And so this has a 0.5 needle nozzle combination, which gives me a nice atomization. So right now, what we're going to do, and I'll make this bigger for you so you can see what's happening. And I always like to start at the forehead. Why? I don't know. I just do. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to be about 3 inches away from the surface. And you see how I'm just going to barely touch that, right? Just barely touch that. Same here. Just barely touch it. I'm not even going to bother what's going on up here too much. And you see here, it's lighter than the gray, but it definitely isn't white. So I'm just going to put a very light application. Okay, let's see. And then it gets more powerful over here. So I'm just going to bring my reference to Pure Ref. You guys can't see the Pure Ref on my screen. Very lightly. Even looks like nothing's happening, but believe me, it is. Yes, Brad, the white mixture. So Brad gets credit as well. So this is definitely a very important part of the painting. You're not just putting arbitrary white and setting it up, but we're really paying attention to where the most light-facing objects are. We're not getting involved in we're definitely not getting involved in highlights, just lighter. So to making a bas relief, if you know what that is, just bringing something out of the surface, like just bringing something that's totally two-dimensional and starting to make it three-dimensional. And I'm waiting a second to see what that does. Very important. Now I do a lot of these in the course of a week of working on the light mixture. What I suggest when you paint, don't do these epic paintings. I mean, you can have an epic painting going, that's fine. You do that, you know, maybe an hour a day, you work on your epic painting. But don't just work on an epic painting, and that's so important. That's one of the best advices I can give someone who's starting out. You need to continue practicing at all stages. So you need to practice your beginning. You need to practice your cutting, your, you know, your light mixture. You need to be practicing your mid game and your end game. How do you bring a painting together? So if you're going to go ahead and do an epic painting, that's great. You'll do this epic painting. But what's going to happen is you will forget a lot of the stuff that you learned in the beginning, because it was like a month or so between the last time you put in the light mixture, you know. So, hey Monty, good to see ya. How are you, Somerset? How's it going? Good to see ya. And Joe says, Tim, what is the reducer to ink ratio with the white? Basically, good question. It is the 50/50 illustration white by Drew Blair and the 40/12 reducer, and that's a 50/50 mix. And so that's really good, because you want this to be transparent. You don't want to put, if you make this opaque, it's over, done deal. You have to keep everything transparent. Remember, we're working in transparency. So if we introduce an opaque right now, it's not going to be good. The great thing about this Vega is that 0.5 needle nozzle combination. Here's a very good little thing about the Vega that I think you would be interested in, is that the Vega actually has one hole drilled all the way from here to here. There's no gaskets or anything in there, or needle packing. It's just one hole, and it's so precise that it just fits perfectly. And one of the things that I do like about this, it's almost like there's nothing to break. It's like the A10 Warthog of the airbrushes. This thing will last you forever because there's not too many moving parts or things that go wrong. So I thought I'd share that with you guys. Yes, it is very subtle, you know, Somerset, very, very subtle. And I'm going to raise the air pressure just a little bit so I get a little better atomization. And so over here, I'm going to come in as well. Again, be careful. It looks like nothing's happening, but wait, because you're going to find out there is something happening. So if you put too much, it's not good. You have to, it has to be just the right amount. It has to be a transparent white, so this way you can build on it. You don't want an opaque white here. It's very important. This is definitely pebble gray. I found that pebble gray is a lot more robust than the light gray. Hey Sam, good to see you. How's it going? All right, Sam's in the house. Hey Bill, how's it going? Oh, Bill's gonna buy 3 of these. So cool. No, these are great, these little airbrushes. These guys, you can get them at usaairbrushsupply.com, the Vegas, and I don't use anything else for the beginning of for the white mixture part. I don't use anything else, but you can. You don't have to like use this particular airbrush. Well, so you can see I'm in no rush. You know, I'm just taking my own time here, and let's see. Really, this is not playing a role. The only role that's really playing this is to keep any of the overspray. That's all that is. But remember, we're about 3 inches away. Yes, the Vega 2000 is pretty much the same brush, yes. And we're just going to continue building this up real slow. We're going to be working on the side plane of that nose. Not this one, but on the light side, which is pretty subtle. We're going to be thinking like a chess player. We're going to be thinking ahead. Here's going to look where there's a little bit of a buildup of the white, right? A little buildup. Now I'm thinking of like snow in the mountain, right? Where it builds up, and then it sort of falls off. Same thing happens with light on the form of the head, and that's what we're looking at right now. And take your time. There's no points for fast. No points for fast. And the light is pretty close to this eyebrow over here, so I'm just going to bring that up. Yes, 25 psi, Brad. And remember that I am choking down a little bit with the Mac valve. And I'm just kind of feeling it, feeling what gives me the best flow, that sort of thing. And I'm just trying to begin with a certain amount of translucency in the shadows. Of course, the light mixture is definitely coming. Definitely it coming is the light mixture. Remember, paint in 3 dimensions, okay? That's what you want to do. And we can go in a little bit where the white of the eyes are. Just a little bit, just to... And with the Vega, you can get pretty precise. Like anything else, you practice with it, you get better. There we go. And we're almost done with that. And Sam says, went ahead and grabbed a bottle of Bombay while he waited for my shipment, but the adjustment, I wasn't impressed at first. I think, you want to know something? The Bombay white is really, was the best of the India inks, but it still has acrylic in it, Sam, and no matter what you do, it's still going to get in the way, you know? It's, you know, whatever you, it's not going to erase. So then when I really remembered about Drew Blair's 50/50 illustration white, it's like a light bulb went off. And this really is the best for this. As far as colors, I'm not too impressed with Bombay either. I tried to make them work, guys, but to no avail. Okay, so right now I think I'm pretty close. I'm going to let it dry. But before I do that, let me go ahead and just slowly lift it, because a lot of times when I have the white around here, it looks a lot darker than when I lift it. So that's something you definitely want to you know, pull that off, you know. Oh, thanks, Brad. She's looking better than Kevin O'Leary. Okay, so you see we have a very good light beginning, and so this is good. So what I will do is I'll come in on some of the inside. I don't need to mask it off, but you see I have this really beautiful edge here. So I'm going to put her aside. I'm going to continue with the light mixture just for a little bit. If when you're painting and you hear a little whistle, just be wary, just blast it out. If you hear that little whistle, usually that's, you know, a little thing to be wary. You might be getting a clog. So, or tip dry. Just be a little careful of that. It's going to get some of these lights in the dark right here. And then this little slit, we can go ahead and put that in. And then there's a little light right here in that ear. So we'll go ahead and put that in. There we go. And I'm pretty happy with it thus far. I think we're okay. Let me just put this freehand shield here. We'll do a little perpendicular and not parallel. There we go. So now we have that little piece of her neck that's visible. And so that's, you know. Oh, so Sam says you only got black. Does have the colored, the India ink does have acrylic in it, and I can just tell by how it dries. It dries very hard, and oh, thanks, Brad. I appreciate that. And so now we're doing pretty well. Just gonna pull this up, and yes, there's definitely the white you can erase. The white you can erase a little bit, but the others, the erasing is just not there. And nothing really beats the Createx illustration colors. I mean, they're the best for erasing. And with that being said, we're going to take our, let me put my glove on here. And even with the glove, I'm still going to protect my hand because I'm paranoid, right? I don't want to have remorse that, oh, I didn't know that there was some graphite or something on that glove or ink. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to erase a little bit away of that white, and it's still very erasable. So I can actually go ahead and start sculpting my midtones before I come in with the ink. It's sort of like plowing the field. Think of it that way, you know? So actually, Brad, my new camera is back there, and that's going to be more for my videos. I'm going to try and incorporate it in here, but right now I have 3 cameras, and you know, I have 2 webcams and my SL2. But the thing is, with live streams, we always have to upgrade our equipment. It's actually crucial. If we don't, we're going to pay the price. You know, because, you know, there's always new things coming out and new techniques and new competition. So you want to keep up with the competition or even a little bit ahead. So I'm always looking for new ways, microphones, stuff like that, to get that really good crisp sound. And you know, the different cameras, you know, which are so important, the different camera angles. That's so crucial. Also, with the ability to blow it up, which I love. Now I am going to get software will get rid of all the, the markings around it, so that would be even better. So that's cool. So let's go back. Okay. Oh, Brad actually plowed the field, actually, in real life. And Bill says he's still trying to get his hand healed after following Steve Leahy's advice of. Oh my God. Great live stream there, Mr. Leahy. That was very good on Monday. I really enjoyed it. And that was some painting you did there, Bill, with the razor blade. That was pretty cool. So you see how I'm just setting her up. That's all I'm doing right now, Hey, Mr. Diekman, how you doing? How's everything? No problem. You have a late pass. Okay, so, with here, remember that, there's a dark here. So we can set that up, by getting rid of the white. And then over here, it starts becoming like a transition tone over here. It's kind of not getting light, not getting dark, right? And remember what I always say, when you see values repeat themselves in a portrait, usually when a value repeats itself, this is a pretty cool thing. It means that they're actually on the same angle to the light source. So think about that. Now I said usually. That's something that you can see. And then you could actually envision what's on the same plane or the same angle. And usually those values will be the same. So I think that's a pretty cool thing. It's sort of like having a road map, right? That's how I look at it. Little bit of blast of light right there. Okay. Okay, so now I think we're doing pretty good. We're going to work on the inside and then we'll go work on the outside. So for the first thing that I'd like to do is always work on the eyes, right? That's what we always do. You always start with the center of interest and you go out from there. Always keep the ensemble going, but what you want to do is you want to always have your center of interest be a little bit more developed than everything else. So this is the beginning. This is also eyeglass territory because this is really big. So looking at this, which eye am I going to stare at? And I would say the eye on the right. So with the beauty of the DSLR, I can go ahead and blow that up for you all. And let's make this happen. Okay, let's do this. And so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to work on the iris. And I think it's important that if you run out of ink to put more ink in, and that's what happened here. I was painting just about an hour ago, and we have our medium mixture, and of course the last one I pick up is going to be the light mixture. There it is. All right, so let's get ready to rumble. And as you can see, I'm going to put some of this in there. Shake it up usually, but I've been working all day, so I don't think shaking up is necessary. And we're also going to make sure that everything is fine. We got great flow, the needle's not sticking, all that good stuff. Okay, back to the eye. And let's see. So any questions you guys have about part 1 so far, please feel free. Now everything's going to look super dark and everything's going to be super white, super light, right? So don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. And I'm going to do the dark around the iris. And I'm going to do the eyelash. Just a very crude, basic, indication. We're just blocking in right now. That's all we're doing. And remember, we're just going to continue. So those of you who are interested in this airbrush, you can see that this, where I'm working right now, is that eye is less than half an inch. And look at the detail that you're able to get. I mean, it's really quite amazing. And this is definitely, with my modifications on this airbrush, the proof's in the pudding that I can do this with this airbrush, and my customization is you'll be getting the same tweaks and major changes I made to the Extreme Patriot Arrow. Oh, good question. Colette asks, did I paint the white of the eyes? Yes, I did very loosely, only where it was lighter, like on this side and on this side, but very loosely. And that will all change as we paint, but I did want to establish that a little bit, bring that forward. Great question, Colette. Sam says, so is it totally necessary to use the outer stencil on the first stage of the white after you can erase, also go back with black? Yes. So you do, because you don't want overspray, right? So having that that protection is going to keep from the white overspraying. And when you go over, white, there will be a change in texture. And if you see it on a large area, such as the background, it will come back to haunt you. So I want you to be definitely weary of that. So you want it, and my whole thing is, you want the painting to be clean, right? Clean and neat. Those are two things that are so important when painting. So remember, I'm not going to go too involved here, but I am going to establish some of the larger values here, the larger shapes. Now it looks dark, but everything is like super, super light around it, so any tone is going to look much darker. Okay, so you see we can go as far as we want, but we don't want to go too far. But we can establish the eyebrows. Let's go ahead and do that first, okay? Just a little bit. We have them delineated, so we're just going to do a very loose translation of the value, right? And then we'll move on over to the other. And hey Bill, good to see you. How's everything? I'm sorry I missed your live stream last night. I had a class. I was teaching a class at the time. Otherwise I would have been there. Okay, so now we're ready for eye number 2, huh? So let's go make her have 2 eyes. So we're just going to start. Remember, we always start with the iris, right? Always start with the iris. And then we'll work on this sort of the ridge of the iris, or the outer ring. 1 second rule, guys. So important. I can't stress it. Because, we're people. We're going to go off our own direction. And so I have to keep myself honest. Now, I could use a freehand shield here, but everything's so soft, and if it's soft, you don't need a freehand shield. It kind of defeats the purpose. Freehand shields are about edges and creating edge disparities, and that's important. And that's an important element to just making an interesting painting. So Monty says, is there anything you can do to lessen the blue hue once it gets with the Canson light gray paper? Actually, I don't have a problem with that. I was thinking about that. You know, so maybe in the beginning, but once you paint around it, I think you should be fine. But that's interesting that you're getting that blue hue, you know. I think what you want to do is you want to keep the white ink very transparent. As you can see, you can still see the paper underneath. So that helps, right? You don't want to go too heavy, Monty. Maybe that will be the best route to go. And so Bill says, oh, hi. Oh, Bill's saying hello, which is cool. Okay, so we're going to continue darkening this a little bit. We don't have to worry about the highlights. Plenty of time for the highlights. Okay, little bit of a blowout there, but no problem. As you can see in the light mixture, really nothing shows up unless you do it a lot. So you see how I can come in here. And then here you see this sort of connects here with this shadow, comes up like that. And then you have a large shadow happening right here. Remember, closer is going to be a smaller cone. Further away, larger cone. Closer, more hard edged. Further away, soft edged. Okay? So really I want you to almost remember that, because that's going to help you. So if I want it darker, I'm going to come closer. If I want it softer and lighter, I'm going to move further away. And just really quick, if you just zoom out, you can see how she's coming out already, right? It's just happening. We're going to continue going down. So it's really, take your time, but you'll be surprised how fast it goes. And let's see. So Bill says, is a huge difference in tone between the pebble gray and the light gray? There is, because the light gray is almost a blue, and the pebble gray is a very warm gray, almost a number 5. I would say the pebble gray is like a 6 on the value scale, right, Bill? So yes, I agree. Definitely. Brad says that painting he's got to go, he overdid the white. Okay, the one painting that Brad's working on, he overdid the white, and he did get the blue problem. Yes, so remember, the thicker the white, the more thicker the application of white, the more blue shift you're going to get. The more transparent, the less that's going to happen. But yeah, definitely great to let us know your how it went for you. So that's definitely a caveat for everybody. So I've been using the blue, I've been using the light gray now for the past month, almost exclusively, and I'm fine with it. But like you say, it's a different animal, definitely is. I'm going to let that dry, and here I went a little too thick, so I'm going to definitely look at that. But before then, we can, as we did with the other eyebrow, we can definitely, and you see I could go at an angle. Remember, eyelashes start going this way, and then once they hit the pupil, they actually line up with the pupil, they actually start going the other direction. Interesting, don't know why. Okay, so now this is thoroughly dry. I could go ahead and calm this down just a little bit. Okay, before we actually go into the nose area, I'm actually going to just resolve some of the intricacies of this eye. Not too much detail, but just as it comes down from the eye socket and starts down the bridge of the nose and the side plane of the nose. Okay, so we're going at a nice clip, and so oh great, so Brad got the pebble gray last week. That's good to hear. The warm tones in the pebble gray would tend to shift the blue from the, yes, that's very true, Bill. That's very true. Hence exasperated by an airbrush from thousands of tiny dots and blue halos around them. Monty says I need to order more pebble gray, almost out. Yes, pebble gray is definitely, I don't know, I wouldn't say it's better. At first I was like, oh my God. I think it depends on your subject matter, right? Which would be better, pebble gray or the other. So what I'm going to do, it's a little bit darker here, so I'm just going to go here. And I want to make sure that I have a balance between this eye and this eye. So let's zoom out. And okay, we have a nice balance, but maybe we can just calm this down a little bit. There we go. Even though everything's going to lighten up, I do want to have balance from the very beginning. It's all relative value relationships, you know? Everybody was trashing Steve while he was gone. Okay, so that's funny. And then what we're going to do is we're going to come and we're going to work on her nose here. Everything's all soft edge, so really there's no need for freehand shields here. Just laser focus. As you can see, we're going to first do the cast shadow underneath the nose, and then we're going to bring the cast shadow of the side of the nostril or the wing of the nostril, and then we're going to bring that value up here. This is sort of like sketching right now. We're trying to get the big shape, so we're painting the forest now, and later in the painting we're going to be working on those trees, and then the leaves, then the bug on the leaf. But right now we have to make sure we get this forest correct. So right now I'm just sort of mapping out, like let's say if I'm a sculptor, right, and I'm sort of molding the wet clay. Think of this stage as that, you know? And let's continue here. So if I want a lighter color, a lighter value, I'm not just going to, maybe pull back a little bit. That's wrong thinking. You want to be like a calligrapher who actually knows how to manipulate and stroke to get the wonderful letters, as opposed to someone who's drawing them out. So rather than go ahead and, go lighter there to get a lighter value, just increase your distance. And when you increase your distance, the airbrush automatically just gets lighter. So remember how to be a master of the airbrush, what it does, what are its strengths, what are its weaknesses. And then once you get that down, I think that will help you immensely. And then a lot of things that seem difficult all of a sudden will start, really calming down, which is really good. It's not as hard as we make it, but that's okay because it is very difficult in the beginning. We just don't know the finer points of it. But that's where, going to live streams like mine and Mr. Leahy's and both Bill's YouTube videos, that is what is going to get you to the point. Now, mastering the airbrush is not talent. It's basically just muscle memory and being tenacious. So everyone can master the airbrush. And then you got to also be working on your drawing skills, your observational skills, that sort of thing. But as far as like looking at us and saying, wow, you guys are really, you have a lot of control with the airbrush, it really is just time and putting in the hours. That's all it is. And I know you guys would definitely agree, you know? so, uh, so Bill hurt his hand listening to Steve. Oh my God. Okay, so you see how I'm basically walking or moving down the center line? Just like in karate, if you were going to attack somebody, you would attack somebody in the center line, right? You wouldn't punch them on the shoulder, you wouldn't punch them in the ear, you would punch them right straight in the middle. So that's basically what I do when I work. It's basically I move down that center line. And then you can go ahead and work on what's around it, but that center line is all important. And so Patrick says, always practice, yes. And Bill says, put in the hours and make sure your paint consistency is true. Very true, very true. And let's see. So we're going to continue. So as you can see, still sculpting. And with the light mixture, I mean, you really can ease into it. Like getting up in the morning and, you know, and you have to rush for work and you're running like crazy. That's not easing into it. The corresponding to getting up and rushing would be like starting with the dark mixture and trying to paint. You know, it's like you're not setting anything up. You're asking too much of yourself, and it's just not going to turn out the best. So that's why the lightest value you possibly can use in the beginning, whether you're working in color, black and white, it doesn't matter. You really have to have that light smokiness. Without it, you will pay the price, trust me. So definitely go lighter, because without it, it's just, you might get lucky once in a while, but if you're going too dark too early, too dark too early, too bad. That's one of my Timisms. Oh, thank you, Patty. Patty says she's loving the eyes. Well, I appreciate that so much. And so we're just going to continue here. And there's really no need for freehand shield at this point because it's all very soft edged. Now we are going to make more footballs and everything. That's still going to happen. And right here, I'm a good maybe 2.5 inches away. Maybe 3, maybe 4 right now. Just getting this. Especially on a woman, when you have this, it has to be extremely soft. It can't be hard-edged, okay? If you do, she'll hate you. And you don't want a pretty girl to hate you. She will not be happy. And once again, I'm just continuing down that center line. And now, so let's do some really cool zooming. We'll do some cool zoom action here. And no, not to be mistaken with Zoom, the program where people telecommunicate. Okay, so right here. So just like the center line, I like starting with the actual line between the two lips. And notice I don't stay in one area. And also notice that since I'm painting at an angle, there's a lot less spidering. And I attribute it to that. See, I'm not staying in one area, and also I'm at an angle. If I was straight down like here, so look at the difference. So if I'm going straight down, like, it's hard for me to show on camera, but if I'm going straight down, Well, even with the air pressure, you see it's really hard for me with my air pressure. And so really, I'm having a hard time getting a spidering right now. And also you start getting the feel of how far to pull back. That cadence, you know? Hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. I can definitely understand. Yes, definitely. So Bill says his morning traffic jam involves 2 dogs, a coffee pot, and some random socks. but he's had a crazy distractions lately and hardly accomplishing much. Well, you did some really great videos. I mean, that one video was really great. I mean, I liked it, Bill. And we're just going to continue here. So those of you who are catching the recorded version of this, you know, as you can see, it really is depending on your patience and not worrying about how it comes out at first. So always, patience is always so important. And as you can see, you know, fading dots or fading lines are really important to learn too. How to get, and it's not a dagger stroke. Dagger strokes are overrated, guys. They really are. I mean, there's so many other strokes that are much more important than a dagger stroke. But for somehow the airbrush community got in their head that the dagger stroke was the most important stroke. But I'll definitely tell you it's not. And I tell my students that too. Oh, Bill's at 4 paintings at 90%. Very cool. And you see how this is sort of connecting. So if I zoom out, you can see that we're starting to really construct what's happening with the larger forms. And we have plenty of time to get detail. We're just working on the large shapes right now. Now I said I was going to continue down, and then we are going to continue that. And so if I look over here, we have a nice hard edge. So I'm going to establish that hard edge right here. Perpendicular, not parallel. And I'm going to crawl along the surface. See that? Perpendicular and not parallel. Because I don't want to have a dark line on the contour. So if I go perpendicular and not parallel, and also wipe off my freehand shield as I go, it's all about cleanliness, right? Cleanliness. It's all about cleanliness. And yeah, I'm not I mean, I think the fading dot and also side to side are more important than the dagger stroke. And I just don't see the application of the dagger stroke as much. I mean, I know it's great for t-shirt artists, but for painting portraits, it's really not applicable, in my opinion, as much. I think distance, I think that's the number one thing that people should be studying at first is how to manipulate distance. So much more important. So as you can see, we are already really doing some great things in the very beginning so far. You know, we've gotten very far very fast. Like I said, you go slow and you believe it or not, the painting's going to go quick on its own. If you rush it, then you're going to spend more time fixing. So go slow. Let the painting develop. Let it happen. Raise the air pressure just a little bit. And I'm going to be about 4 inches. I want to get a very light value here. I want it to be darker than here because it is going... Now the light source is actually coming from the upper right, but still when something is still on the light side but it turns away from it, you know, further in, it's still going to be affected ever so slightly. It's going to not get as much light as this, which is actually facing the light source. This is facing it, but a little bit less. And if it's facing a little bit less, think about it. If something is facing the light source just a little bit less, that means it's going to be just a little bit darker. So I want you to think about that and really try and visualize that. So something is a little bit darker because it's turning away a little bit darker on the face. It's turning away a little bit more, I should say, on the face. And so Todd, good to see you. How's it going, sir? How's life in San Diego? Okay, so now what we're going to do is, I think I have a good centerline attack going, just like chess, right? In chess, you want to start with a control of the center, and that's what we're doing. We're controlling the center, and then once we have the center controlled, then we can go ahead and move out, and it's a lot easier to flank if you have control of the center, and that's what we're doing. So think of it that way. You want to control the center of the board first, and then, and only then, can you really start doing, great things on the edges. It's all about, things turning away from the light at different degrees. I don't care if it looks like her right now, because there's no way it's going to, because of the fact that the details that will give her the likeness don't come until later when we're working with the program. Stick with the program, they say. Okay, so let's see who's saying, everyone's saying hello to Todd, because Todd is cool. Always great to see you, Mr. Todd. So look how far and how fast we actually came. So right now we can come in with the light mixture and we can start working on this hairline a little bit. And notice I didn't bring the white all the way there, and that was actually thinking ahead. And I didn't have to go ahead and paint in all those little hairs coming in on our hairline, right? So usually if you have to do a lot of detail, usually that will actually come back to haunt you. You should stay loose as much as possible. Here we go. Also, we're going to come in and hit that background, stuff like that. So we have, So Todd is cold, not cool. And let's see. Now we're moving around a little bit more, and we're also thinking about a few things. So right here, I want to separate her chin or her jaw perpendicular and not parallel. And you see that I'm just going to separate that jaw a little bit from the neck area. This is a dark, but I'm not going to hit that yet because we do have it already cut out. Let's see. Let's take a look. Dun, dun, dun. Yes. So we have it cut out here, so we can actually go ahead and start putting in some of those darks, can't we? Let's make this happen. And this is like a different stage. So really I only want to worry about this side right here. So this is all I'm going to really worry about is right here. I'm going to come in with the dark. When I say come in with the dark, I mean actually coming in with the light mixture and darkening it up. It's not going to be anywhere near of what it's going to be later, right? So I'm going to go away from, I'm actually going to go away from the shield. Now why would you go away from the shield? Because if you go towards it, it's going to creep under, and that's not what we want. We can always fix it, but let's keep the fixing to a minimum, right? We know the least we have to fix, the more we can actually continue to develop the painting. So let's limit that and just, you know, keep things going smoothly as they can, you know, the most you can. So part one is always a really important part to this method. I mean, it really is, because part one really just helps you to map it out. If you don't have part one down, if you're just starting, I really recommend you look at all my part ones, you know, that I have up there, and that will actually really be a wonderful education for you. Now, I have changed how I begin a painting. So definitely be wary of that. I did do differently sometimes, but I would just see what I did in the last 3 months or so, or 4 months. That would be really cool, so you can see what my technique looks like at the moment. My technique's always going to change. It's always going to adapt. I don't stay still. I'm always looking to build a better mousetrap, and once that happens, always looking ahead, further ahead, right? And so let's pull this off. We might have some adjustments here, but it looks like not bad, right? Not bad, guys. I think we're doing okay. So now that we're at this stage and we have the forehead, so I think what we can do is we probably can go ahead and establish the value of her shirt. Let's do that. No time like the present, am I right? Yes. Okay. So, we're going to take another one of these, and we're going to put her aside. Pardon me. And then we are going to cut out the shirt. That's all we're going to do. Let's make this happen. Get our razor blade out, and the first thing we're going to do is we're going to cut at the head here. And just try and really be as exact as possible right here. I can come in just a little bit more. So we're going to be cutting out just the shirt because that's what we're going to be spraying in. So you want to stay on this line. Take your time. And you don't want to pull away. That's what I learned from Mr. Steve Leahy. And you just, this way you're not pulling the paper. And like I said, when we do this and it doesn't come off cleanly, don't pull at it. Just find out where it's stuck and then just cut that up a little bit more. Okay. I'm just going to pull this all the way out like this. And then the same. So how far did we go? Wow, I did a lot already. Look at that, guys. I'm working hard today. You guys have me working hard. I'm telling you. This is unbelievable. And let's see here. We have this here. And let's pull this up from here. Shall we? Okay, let's see. And just like chess, you want to be thinking a couple of moves ahead. You don't want to be going on a fly and say, I'm not sure what we're going to do. Let's go ahead and do that. No, you want to have at least, like, at the very least, you want to be 5 moves ahead. So let's see if this works. I'm just going to pull this all the way over. We'll just pull this like so. Let's see. There we go. Okay. Now, remember, we don't pull it because if we do, that's going to do damage and it's going to make the contour a little funky. And we don't want that. Somebody asked, well, what if you want a funky contour? Well, that would mean I was an abstract expressionist and we would be a whole different set of rules and parameters. So you want as clean as possible. Pa-pow! There we go. So that looks pretty good. We'll put this over here and we're going to need that edge too eventually. So always be prepared. And so that's a nice clean edge. So not bad. Very cool. And let's see. And so what we're going to do is, remember, always at the edges, right? As close to the edges, right? In this way, when we're close to the edges, we are going to keep it from, you know, how do you say, you know, crawling underneath, right? So far, I didn't have any problems. Okay, caveat, if you're using the light gray, it's a lot more volatile when it comes to the tape. And so you have to be careful when you pull it up. So that's why I actually, when I put the tape first, I apply it to the table and get rid of some excess glue because I did have some pulling up. Not disastrous, but some pulling up with the light gray, which I don't have with the pebble gray. They're definitely different in a lot of ways. I mean, not just color, I think in composition as well. So Todd says I'm using my mouth. Oh man, that would actually, with an airbrush, that would be amazing. Oh, Colette says she's enjoying my YouTube videos. Thank you. I appreciate that, Colette. Thank you so much. So John sold a commission. Congratulations. That's wonderful. Great to hear. Yes, I would like to try airbrushing one time with 2 airbrushes at the same time. That would be pretty cool, wouldn't it? Dual airbrushing. Like 2-fisted airbrush artists. What do you think about that, Mr. Steve? Can you do that? If anyone can, it's Mr. Steve Leahy. But let me hear. Can you do 2 airbrushes at a time? You know, using one on your left and your right hand? That would be wild. I'm going to try it, but not on a live stream. I'm going to have to change the blade. It's not as sharp as it could be. Yes, dual airbrushing. So funny. So congratulations on your commission and happy customers. That's always a wonderful feeling. And notice I am in no rush whatsoever. No rush. So if ever someone takes on a commission and it's only like they only have a week, it's your fault for taking on that commission. So make sure you give yourself enough time. You just tell your client that if you want it done good, you're going to have to not be under pressure. And one more, and I think we'll be done. So I want you to try this technique. I think you'll love it. I'm going to get a bigger one of this. I want to get one that's like 36 by 24, one of these. Do you guys know if they sell it like 36 by 24, guys? These cutting mats? Because I need a big one for when I actually cut the paper. And I want to be cutting mat boards too. I don't want to be paying for mat boards. I forgot a piece. Whoop, I dropped a piece of paper. I gotta get it. Okay, good. All right. So again, now comes the tape once more, and we'll go ahead and do that. And we got a nice little group going on here. 24 concurrent viewers. Thank you guys for hanging with Tim. I appreciate that. So Fiskars has it? Okay, thanks. Hey, Paul, how you doing? I didn't see you get here. How's it going? Good to see you, sir. Yeah, I need a big one. And notice I'm taking them and I'm, let me see. So that's me. And then right here, all right. So notice that I'm putting them on the table first and then pulling them over here, because getting rid of a lot of that glue first before I apply it onto the paper. Hey Winfield, how you doing? Oh, thank you. All different sizes. I appreciate that. Wow. Okay. Yeah, I need it big because the small one just isn't cutting it, you know? No pun intended, right? That was pretty funny. The small one just isn't cutting it, isn't that? That was really that. I like when we do puns and we really haven't intended it for happening and it just does. And let's see. Okay, so we are doing well. We are actually moving fast. This is actually a pretty intense part one, I would say. Let's see if we can move this a little bit. There we go. Okay. There we go. We're moving at a good clip, guys. Ha! Don't quit my day job, Brad says. That's funny. Be careful not to have the tape go outside, right? You don't want the tape to change the contour. So that's what you really have to be weary of. Make sure it goes inside the contour. Otherwise, when you're spraying, you're going to change the shape, and that's not good. You did all that hard work. You know, you don't want to lose it, right? So, Joanne Fabrics. Okay, thank you, Colette. That's a great idea. And Amazon, thank you for that idea there. Joe says he thinks they come about 18 by 24. I have an 18 by 24, but it's still just a little bit too small, Joe. So I'm looking for something bigger, you know. Oh, you taped the back of them together. Okay, that's pretty smart. Thanks for that idea, Joe. So I officially quit my gym membership because I have weights now and I have a weight bench. But the thing is that I miss the gym, you know, but with COVID-19 and lack of vaccines, it's not a smart thing to go to the gym. Even though it might be healthy, it's not healthy in the long run. Oh, you have 24 by 36. Wow. And what brand is that, John, may I ask? A lot of times they're no-name brands, right? That's for sure. Just take your time. 25. Look at that, guys. 25 concurrent views. We had 30. That was the most so far. I think that was a couple weeks back. So I'm happy. I want to hit 50. And so the channel is growing, and that is great. If you guys out there who are watching this even later after the, the recorded version of this, go ahead, if you haven't subscribed, and hit that little bell icon. And this way you'll actually be alerted when new videos are coming out, because I do videos on all aspects of airbrushing, on PSI and different things, and drawing aspects, anatomy, time management, things that you would need. So definitely, if you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button, and then there's a little bell icon next to it. If you click that, you'll be alerted when I get new videos and you won't miss a thing. And so I hope you join or subscribe. See that little guy right there? That's going to be a hard one. So we're just, is Wendy okay? I did see her tonight. Wendy, where are you? She comes, I think she gets like phone calls and stuff lately. So that's why I think she, you don't see her and then she comes back. Okay, almost there, because that's a little, so you want to be so careful. You want to be like really careful about all the different things, like make sure that the tape doesn't change the contour, make sure there's not one hole visible, because when you spray, it's just going to make that dark hole, you know. All right, so put that over here. Let's bring this Irish lass back. Okay. And now, dun dun dun, we are going to work on putting this in. That looks pretty close. Pretty good. Larry David, Curb Your Enthusiasm. Any of you guys watch that show? That's crazy. He's hilarious. Oops, I think I just missed this over here. Look at this. Okay, all right, so I think this is pretty good. I'm just going to tape this down, and then what we're going to do is we're just going to come in and establish this darker gray color, which is going to really help us. The link above is 36 by 24. Okay, 36 by 24. Okay, cool. So that's cool. Thanks for that link then. Okay, so perpendicular and not parallel. And what we're going to do is just establish this edge here, painting away from. So we also want to look at our freehand shield here, right? And you see it doesn't really go past this area. So I'm not going to make stuff up. I'm just going to paint until we get to that spot where we've seen our reference. We're not going to make stuff up. We're just going to paint what we see. Now we're going to do several layers here, but as we're doing it, we really want to make sure we're checking on it, right? We want to make sure that we're not going down the wrong path and continue going down that wrong path and get darker and darker, you know? So let's take a look. And okay, so I really like the way that edge is kind of working on it. I mean, I'm feeling good about it. All right, so we're just going to continue. And we're going to look at our reference and see that our reference pretty much stops right here. Even though I have this going over there, I'll just lift that up. Whoa. Notice the distance, and I'm still with the light mixture. But I'll go several layers here. And let me just move that down. Now I'm going to put some paper underneath because I don't want to get ink on here, and then I'll put a paper on there, and then before you know it, I'm making a mess. So we'll just do this here. Save the table. Okay, that's what we're going to do. And just bring that down. Just like so. Let it dry. It's going to look blotchy, but your goal is to, you know, keep at it and make it less and less blotchy as you go. So, Mr. Steve, what are you working on next Monday? I can't wait to see it. On your live stream at 6 o'clock. Okay, we are out of the light mixture, so let's put a little bit more in there as soon as we find it. Light mixture. Look, I found it first time this time. Last time I definitely had to look at every bottle before I got near it. The good thing about the Extreme Patriot Arrow, although it does have this incredible amount of detail, it still has a .30 needle and nozzle combination. So when you are far away, you're going to get a nice spray pattern. Not as good as the Vega for backgrounds and such, but still, this could definitely be your all-purpose airbrush. But definitely a micron killer. Okay, so now we're just going to continue testing it, making sure. So we're just going to very slowly pull this up. Also like the way it's kind of blending out. And you see that? We're just beginning, right? So we can just go ahead and bring this very slowly. But I really like this kind of smoky, mysterious feel to her, and I'm just going to continue along these lines, and continue with this smokiness and, this air of, the femme fatale sort of thing, you know. And I'm just going to deepen this shadow here. Get that dark, pull that all the way up. Oh, thanks, Brad. So Brad uses his Extreme Patriot arrows just for the my Airbrush India inks, because I do feel that they are perfect for that technique. Now the hair, right? So you might ask, so Tim, why don't you go ahead and mask out the hair? Because look how soft edged the hair is. So to mask that out would actually be counterintuitive. I'm going to bring that up. And if I'm going in the right direction, I'm going to have a limit of the overspray anyway, right? So it's all good in the hood. Now I didn't have the actual chat window on this one because I think it was really important for you all to see the reference as I'm working. After today, I'm going to put the reference on paintedglyphs.com, and it'll be the reference for this, so you can download it and see it while I'm working on part 2 to part 6, more or less, maybe part 7. Like I said, Tim's in no rush, that's for sure. And Angel, how's it going? Good to see you. I did receive your email and photo, and I did ask you, now what kind of paint are you using on that? So maybe you guys could help Angel out. So Angel was working, but what paint was that? Was that India ink or was that the paint, Angel? And it is, what brand of paint? He was getting Blue Shift as we talked about it earlier. See, these aren't daggers. These are more like fading lines or fading dots. So really, I don't see the big hype over the. And I'll be bold and say I think it's just a hype. It just stuck, and I think it has to do with t-shirt artists and not for fine artists. Okay, so we're going to continue just mapping out the hair because, like anything else, one of the things I was taught by Harvey Dinnerstein was to cover the paper as quick as possible, and then you will have the value structure, and then you could go ahead and start working with that relative value relationships and all of that. A lot easier once you have everything covered. So that's probably what I'm going to be doing now. I'm going to continue moving around, but when I see some areas to work in, when I work in the hair, I'll continue to move around a little bit too. Just want to see if I can calm this down. Although everything's going to get much lighter. This seems darker. I'm not going to do too much erasing. You have to decide, am I going to go erase it? Or am I just going to wait for everything to darken and then it will come into balance? So that's a decision I'm making now. So, you definitely have to think ahead, right? So, Angel, what was the brand of paint you're using? Oh, Speedball Super Black India ink. So basically he was using the ink and he got a little bit of Blue Shift. And if I'm not mistaken, you put the blue, you put the white. And what white was that you put over the ink? Was it Speedball? Was it the 50/50 illustration white? So the background is actually undecided at this point. I kind of like the smokiness, so I'm not going to commit. I might play with this on digital art, play with the background, see what's better. I really like it sort of misty as opposed to dark. Createx. Now, is it Wicked or 50-50? Because that makes a big difference, Antonio. I kind of like where it's kind of misty, kind of has that feeling of Ireland, right? And we're just going to continue bringing that up. So, does anyone have any ideas as to how, like, once there's a blue shift, I would say try and erase it. That's me. Try and erase where you put in that white. See if that helps. Don't go too aggressive. Try first with a kneaded eraser, then like a pink pearl, and see if you can pull up that white a little bit. See if that works. If that doesn't work, if you guys have some suggestions, that would be great too. Yeah, if you notice, I never go over once I established ink on an area, I'll never put white. Only white pastel, but not white ink or anything, any kind of white liquid or white 50-50 illustration white, because you will have a blue shift. Even with the India ink, you would. It's a different kind of blue shift. It's like this greenish blue. As you see, I'm moving around a lot. Oh, opaque airbrush colors. Yes, that's going to be rough because it's opaque, and I don't think they erase as much. Now, if you're still here, Steve, is there anything that you can suggest? Because Steve knows those Createx better than me. Also, Bill, if you're here, if you have any suggestions, because I don't use those too much. Oh, okay. I think Bill's going to answer, which is going to be great, because Bill specializes in those Createx, and so does Mr. Leahy. Oh, so Bill says you're going to have a really hard time using them without a lot of pressure and a good nozzle. So he says they're pretty thick, so that's probably what's causing the blue shift. Now remember, the thinner the ink or the paint, the less blue shift you're going to have. But you're going to have blue shift. And yeah, and with these inks you have to be very careful. Okay, let's continue with the hair here. Wow, guys, we're at 11:19 already. This has been an intense live stream. You realize how far I've gotten already in this one live stream? It's crazy. Oh, yes. Now, what you have to do in the future is to use the light mixture a lot longer, Angel. And that's if you have my mixture, my airbrush India ink mixtures, you'll have the light mixture, which I'm using now, and it kind of keeps you from going to light, I actually stay in the light mixture for about 60% of the painting, sometimes more. And what you can do with the light mixture is you can slowly build up your lights while creating texture, which is really good. Oh, look at that. Thank you, Brett. I appreciate that. And Patty says she needs to say good night. Oh, have a great night, Patty. Always a pleasure talking to you. Thank you for stopping by, and don't work too hard tomorrow. Boy, I got all that fit in one sentence, huh? That wasn't too bad. Thanks, Patty. So you notice I could have went up here and used one of those, shields, paper shields and everything, but it's all very soft edge, and I want to exploit that soft edge because I'm thinking of having a misty background like Ireland. One second rule, guys. Keep that 1 second rule going. Okay, great. Prepare a mixture. Yes. And now here's a link. So go to my page. It's only $16.95 for a complete set that will last you for a long time. And it will save you a lot of headaches. So I really recommend checking it out when you can. Paintingglyphs.com. Over there you'll see links to my India inks and the airbrush I'm using. So I really think they'll help you because with my inks, they are calibrated for this technique, and you don't have to worry about being too dark or too light. And going from the light, medium to dark mixture using the white pastel for the lights at the end, it really will come together. So and just keep a lot of that guesswork out of your way, and then you can just enjoy your airbrushing. Brad says you don't have to try to reinvent the wheel. Tim's ink mixtures are bull. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. I really worked hard on them, guys. So when you are painting, you don't have to worry about a lot of the technical stuff when it comes to mixing it and I dilute it. If you don't have an exact formula, it's going to be different each time. And my formula, actually, I worked on that formula for about 15 years. Now, I've only been airbrushing for 10 years, so you're saying, like, why 15 years? Well, because I used to use them in my pen and my brush technique with the ink. I used to first use India ink and the paintbrush to do my underpaintings for pastels. And then when I started airbrushing, I used it to refine those underpaintings. And then I fell in love with airbrushing, and then I started using the India inks just for underpaintings of my color airbrush paintings. But then I would say about a year and a half ago, I decided to just concentrate on the black and white India ink for a while and really perfect this technique and perfect the mixtures, all that stuff. A lot of texture up here, but we'll get to that, but it's going pretty well. So look at that, guys. We are actually at, wow, we're actually at 11:22 already. Sorry I wasn't as into the conversation as I want to be, but this is really utmost concentration during this first 2 hours. Is really sets the tone for the whole painting. It really does. And oh, thanks, Monty. And let's move up here. So, like I said, I'm not worried about likeness, but as you can see, we do have some nice things mapped out already, which I'm very happy with. And I actually painted non-stop during this live stream. This was an intense live stream. We do have about 5 minutes left. So like I said, those who ordered this airbrush from me, I got the tracking number for the parts. So they should get here hopefully by Saturday, and I can start working them over the weekend and have them shipped out to you by Monday. So that's what I'm hoping. But I'll definitely send out an email when I did receive the parts and start putting together your airbrushes. And thank you everybody for trying them out. And those who did receive them, I appreciate that. Thanks for trusting me to try them. And I'll tell you, that's another thing, over the course of the years, those little tweaks really make a big difference, you know. Oh, Sam says, oh, thank God. Thanks for your patience, Sam. I appreciate it. Oh, take care, Monty. Don't work too hard. Okay, sir? And thank you for spending time with me, especially during the late hour it is in South Africa. That's true, Sam. Thank God the parts are on their way. Very much lighter here in the lips. You know, if she was wearing lipstick, those lips would be much darker, but they're not. She's not wearing lipstick. And even like I paint about 6 hours a day on average, sometimes more. And there's still days where I start getting cramps, you know, but not much. I would say not as much. Your hands and muscles get used to it. When you do start out, you will get some cramping, but that's part of it. No matter what airbrush you use, you're going to get cramping. Let's bring this in. You see how that comes in a little bit more. And then this is a bit more of a narrowness there. So this is amazing. We have 22 people right now at the end of the live stream. So that hasn't happened. So thank you everybody for coming to the live stream. I really appreciate that. So as you see, we have everything mapped out right now where we want to be. When we come back, we're going to come and do another round. I mean, come back in with the light mixture, starting with this eye, going to this eye, moving down. And that's, you know, that's how we do it. We just slowly build things up. She does have a dark background, but I'm actually thinking of having this mistiness, so I'm not sure. I'm going to play with it in digital first. Oh, thanks, Brad. Brad says, great live stream. Have a great night, sir. Always good to see you. Take care, Todd. And thank you so much for hanging out. So 23 people at the end. That is magical. And I remember when I started these live streams 4 years ago, and there was sometimes one person. I was live streaming for one person. So it's been a while, and about 2.5 years ago, I decided not to concentrate on recorded videos, but concentrate on this live stream. And I think it was very successful because I got to know people more on a one-to-one basis. And so I do like that. So I'm glad I concentrated, put my money and my time more towards the live stream. And, you know, getting the equipment and the programs for live streaming. So I'm glad about that. I'm glad I made that decision. Take care, Paul. Good to see you. Steve, take care. It is 11:29. It's 11:30. So we all know what 11:30 means, right? 11:30. Okay, so look how far we have gotten. We've gotten pretty far, and I'm very happy so far. Thank you so much. We learned about the light mixture, the white mixture, the light mixture. We learned about cutting and the footballs and using this tape. So it was a very action-packed, very full of a lot of information. So I'm going to be putting this on the website. You can go ahead and watch it over and over again. Also, go to paintingclips.com. Take care, Joe and Bill and John and Willie and John Diekman and Raul. So what you guys want to do is definitely look at that over and over again. Freeze frame it. If you have any things that you weren't sure of, if you have any questions, email me at paintingclips.com. Don't forget, if you want to purchase the airbrush that I use, the Extreme Patriot Arrow, that is customized just for you and tested and fine-tuned, you can go to www.paintingclips.com. I also sell the inks, these brushes, erasers, everything that you would need on that website, paintingclips.com. Take care, everybody. I hope you have a very great night, and thank you so much for all the encouragement. I will talk to you soon. Bye, guys.